It's not on. Hi, everybody. So thanks for coming on. We're burning the midnight oil as usual because, there's no time to sleep. There's no time to sleep when, the future is at stake and, um, just a civil society is at stake. More and more information is coming out about our son. More and more information is coming out about the environment that he was reporting on. He said to me, Mom, it's just so bad. It is so bad. And he was absolutely right. And he was right all along. And his life was taken, right? He was forcibly removed from his barracks room and he was taken to the arms room there in his building. And his life was taken because that is a soundproof room. And his body was stolen and trafficked to Mexico internationally, off of Fort Bliss, and trafficked internationally to Mexico. That's huge. So let's see if I'm on. And why would they do that? Because he was whistleblowing, right? He was whistleblowing, and he was reporting. He was reporting on this nexus, this really bad, uh, very bad group, very bad criminal group.
So let's see.
Okay. Yep. It looks good. Thank you, Laura, for coming on. Lots of news, especially with the arrests that are happening with Raul Rocha. That is really exposing a lot of information to us. Think about it. There was Attorney General, I believe it was Attorney General in Mexico City that was for pay to play, right? Was leaking files to Raul Rocha. Raul Rocha was also tampering with weapons to rub out the serial number and replace it with new serial numbers for his security business. We know that um, the Plenitude Crematorium, the Narco Crematorium, the flesh peddlers that ran that run many businesses. And I'm going to put out a list of the businesses because I think it's very important for people to know in El Paso, since Rafael Ariano Caron is still there in El Paso and his businesses are still running. All of that needs to be shut down because he, runs bars and he has liquor license and he runs many other businesses and has property. I mean, his house is right beside Beto O'Rourke. Um, that's not by accident. um, so definitely people need to know what's going on in this case, what Richard was exposed to, this flesh peddler that is working with Del Carmen. Del Carmen, of course, the FTO, um, La Linea, or the CJNG or whatever, New Generation cartel that was harvesting organs and babies, luring young women there, young pregnant women there in crisis pregnancy, promising them jobs and that. Um, this is just a horrible, horrible situation. Of course, they lost their life because of these botched C-sections that turned into organ harvesting. And these C-section surgeries were done by, unqualified illegally by young our information is that they were young girls, 16, 17 years old, doing these illegal C-sections in Mexico. And thank you so much that you hear me. Um, and this is getting very, very serious because it's all being documented now. And, one layer after the next of this very criminal syndicate onion kind of thing is being revealed, right? We're pulling it down, we are revealing it. And um, the children, we said that we had gotten information that some children during these C-sections didn't survive, that the ones that did, were put up for adoption, targeting the homosexual community in the United States of America. To, I guess they didn't really, they are susceptible. They didn't care to look where the babies were coming from, right? And that's why they were targeted. They were a weak community, and they were targeted. Um, which gives you another reason why maybe they should think twice about this kind of situation, right? And I hope everyone knows and can read between the lines of what I'm saying, because it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong what's going on. It's absolutely evil what's going on. It is a spiritual war. This is satanic. This is, and one thing leads to the other, and it gets darker and darker and darker. And that's why people need to, that's why we have repentance. That's why we have selfless service, right? Selfless. You can't just serve yourself, right? You have to think of the greater picture, going forward, and families and children, and we in a civilized society, one that brings real joy and happiness to most of the people, right? The most of the people, some have to sacrifice their happiness, or their desires. They have to sacrifice their desires. I think that that's the best thing, because they're not really always happy. They're not happy at all, from my experience. From meeting, they're just not happy. Um, so these babies, then, and the children that were trafficked, there's a pipeline, there's a real crime going on. And we have Steve Bannon, and the actor that played in The Passion of the Christ. He also, I think he directed The Sound of Freedom. When Richard went missing, we were told over and over again that we had to go see this movie. And I really resisted, to be honest with you. I really resisted. I didn't want to go, because, we were getting so much terrible news about Richard and what had happened to him and everything, that I didn't know if I could mentally watch a movie about something, what people were telling me is involved in Richard's case. But we did go. And, Rob was saying, look, we can always get up and leave. We can always get up and leave anytime. So we did go, and it was very, very well done. I stayed through the whole movie, and it really revealed a lot about Richard's case, what was going on. And through our sources and everything, we knew that there was something very similar going on there in El Paso at Fort Bliss, um, and across the border in Chihuahua. And so this gave us a lot of direction, right? Direction into where to look, where to investigate. Since we've had to do the investigation ourselves, we've had to investigate ourselves. So So it gave us a real good direction on where to investigate, how to investigate, what to look for. Um, I can tell you it's really shocking, even knowing all of that. It's really shocking when it's all coming out that it's true, right? Because in 2023, when this actor got on to Steve Bannon's show and did this, they called it QAnon. They were debunking it left and right and all that. Well, the debunkers now have been debunked, right? The debunkers have been debunked, um, and this satanic ritual, and it's just so dark that I can't really even talk about it on a live stream. I really can't. It's so evil what they have done. And it really is very, very selfish, and it really is for profit, and it really is so satanic. It goes into you really have to read the Bible to see that this is not anything new. This is what the Canaanites were doing. This is what all the evil, those that denied God, wanted to be God, wanted to try to find life without God, um, what they would descend into, right? They descended into, what Herod did, and kill the babies, right? Kill the babies. And this is, uh, an evil that just cannot be tolerated. It just cannot be tolerated. And so I'm, front row seats to the full power of the law to hold these people accountable for what they have done. And it is clearly now been been reported on that all along this has been going on. And we have breaking news, and this is really a good time to bring it up because Connell Witten is, as everybody that's been watching this knows, that he is the assistant special agent in charge at the El Paso FBI office. And but that's not really what he is, right? He is really the backdoor guy, right? He absolutely is doing business, is making deals with these FTR satanic cartels that are Mormon faction, and he's the Mormon faction part of this with, of course, Thomas Kane, of course, with Woody Hunt. Woody Hunt is the top of the pyramid in the El Paso area. And of course, um, Thomas Kane was the controller of the borders of Fort Bliss, right? The security, the director of emergency services, he controlled the security. And so this is definitely a Mormon faction tied with the cartels, have went along with, and then it is in connection to, um, uh, and this is where it kind of surprises me because you have Nadal Baim, who's a Palestinian arms dealer, but then you have um, Jeffrey Epstein, which is connected to, the talk is that he's connected to Mossad, so that's Israel, right? So you have this Mormon faction with the cartel that have a very connection to the Roman Catholic Church. Then you have Nadal Baim, the Palestinian Muslim. Um, uh, Arms dealer connected to Richard's chain of command, but then you have White Sands Missile Range and Zorro Ranch with Jeffrey Epstein. So you have this full gamut here, and I think what you call it is just, the fallen man. the depraved man, right? And when I say man, I mean humans, right? I mean humans. I mean men and women alike. Humans. It's so funny. They want to do all this gender confusion and everything, but they don't want you to just say man for humankind, right? They want you to say man and women. They can't tolerate just you saying man for mankind, or he, meaning mankind. Um, so for years we went through all of that where it was so much easier to write, and the understanding of it was very simple, and everyone could understand it when we talk humankind, right? And now it's just, absolutely insane what people want you to express when you're writing something, right? Because they just, I don't know, they want you to um, make it difficult, right? Make it difficult, and they, whatever. But the thing is this is crimes against humanity, okay? Crimes against men and women, crimes against children, being a male or female. This is crimes against humanity, and of the worst kind, to extract some kind of pharmaceutical, elixir or something like this. Um, and it really is diabolical. And that it explains why there's this grooming, right? Because you have to groom a people in order to carry this kind of ritual out, right? They just try to groom you in the worst type of ways, in the darkest witchery, right? And that's why you have this rise of witches. We have many witches, self-proclaimed witches, like Hema Xochitl, right? Hema Saboteur, she was, when you went to her page, she was a self-proclaimed witch, right? And she's in the middle of all of this, right? She's in the middle of all of this. Um, and, everyone remembers all of her attacks and everything. And she was one of the very first people that we did a complaint on, right in front of the 15 plus um, agencies, right there in person. In person, I read it out, right? I read it out and said, "Who is this person?" And of course, she's the wife of Richard's first sergeant, right? And she's a proclaimed witch. So, all of this is, just like, I don't even like that whole Wicked movie kind of thing. I mean, just that they named it Wicked, that just that it's like, oh yeah, let's go see Wicked. It's so good. I don't like those two words in the same sentence, wicked and good. And I mean, I've just had enough of all of this. It's just so evil, and uh, they just groom in order to do the most evil things. So it's a very slippery slope how they, try to use your good nature, right? They use our good nature to get us to be tolerant, in order to drive us and groom us to a certain spot where they can absolutely have enough compromised individuals that they can carry out this. And they're always after the children. They're always after the children. Okay. The bottom line is the oil or money or whatever, but what they really want is the children. And they won't want the children for what they raising them in the admonition of the Lord. That's not what they want the children for. They want the children for the most evil acts you can't even speak of, right? You can't even speak of. And so that is their target all the time. And so this was the whole target of all of this immigration. The immigration was just a big tent. You could say, oh, it was for cheap labor or whatever. They don't really care about any of that. They're going to do that anyway. They're going to find a loophole and whatever. The big thing, what they wanted was the children. And that's why 500,000 children were trafficked during 2021 and 2023, during that time period, and they're always trafficking, but it went turbo force during that time, and most of them are no longer alive. Um, if they survived it, God bless them. I just can't even imagine. And it just cannot be tolerated, this kind of crime for whatever purpose they want to extract from another human being, right? No, no, it's a big fat no. And if we do tolerate it, we are absolutely writing our own death sentence, because God is no buttercup. He's not going to tolerate this. And I think that's why God's hand, sorry, has been all over this. Thank you, Stefano, here in New Mexico as well. First time here is very true. Zorro Ranch, yes. And Zorro Ranch had the protection of the restricted airspace, and that was the whole purpose of those posts. And I need to repost those. The whole purpose of those posts is for people to see the auto, right? The signal that led right into Zorro Ranch's um, airstrip, right? And that was all through restricted airspace. And so people would ask the question, how could that be? How could a plane or planes get through the restricted airspace? There must be people working at White Sands, and there are, right? And this is the whole purpose, is for to get people thinking that, oh my gosh, they could absolutely, and it's not a mistake that the Oto is right there. It's not a mistake where Jeffrey Epstein's um, um, uh, airstrip is, right? The landing strip. That's not an accident. That's all on purpose. You are down in Sunland Park. Um, you're right there, at the airport, and you get in your plane and you dial up to the OTO and the right frequency, the right channel, and it will take you right, it will guide you the whole way right into the air strip, the landing strip of Zorro Ranch. And of course, you're right there in the middle of nowhere, um, where, the worst things can happen, the worst things. And it's never been, Zorro Ranch has never been raided. Why not? Why wasn't it raided? And we have the likes of Connell Wetton being in law enforcement, being entrusted, being paid by the taxpayer, that is up to no good, is the inside man for the Ariano family, the Quran family, the flesh peddlers of um, the crematorium. And of course, Rosemary was, she had her own crisis pregnancy business, and of course with many other businesses, and so does her sons, many other businesses, and so these are very well connected individuals. They're not what you expect satanic operators to look like. They're not red with horns, right? These are people that can easily mix in with the crowd, and you could feel their evil spirit. I'm sure you could, but they can mix in with the crowd. And this is why this has to be addressed. This is not something that flashes warning. This absolutely needs to be prosecuted. And these people need to really, these crimes against humanity are so severe. They are more severe than what happened at the Walmart mass shooting. And that was really bad, right? That was really bad. So this is so severe that the death penalty needs to be on the table. And I would request a front row seat to this. That's how I feel about it. I want a front row seat to that, because what they have done is, in my book, uh, well, we'll see if it's deserving of um, of the full count of the law, right? The full penalty of the law. So, and what does this have to do with Richard's case? It has to do with his body. It has to do with bringing partial remains to a Plenitude crematorium, the flesh peddler. It has to do with organ harvesting, um, uh, being a means of hiding his body. It has to do with the cashing in of remains to the VA for the veterans' benefits, which are substantial. And then um, with dismembering him, they could claim part of his body as an identified migrant in the United States and another part of his body as an unidentified migrant in Mexico, and cash in on humanitarian aid. And so this scheme just gets so um, disgusting, right? It just gets so disgusting. But this is why we, got the three autopsy numbers, right? And, um, so evidence confirms what we're saying, evidence indicates what we're saying, that this was for definitely the targeting of children. And President Trump got in the way. He has grandchildren. He wants to secure um, the environment for children to be raised wonderfully. He wants that. He absolutely has proven that, and they didn't want that, right? They wanted the crime. They absolutely wanted the crime, and so that's why this is a brutal. You can't want. You know, the story that I like to tell is our property in Ireland where Richard was raised. It's called Drum Row. It's beautiful property, right? Beautiful. We had about 2 acres. But around us was many, many acres for cattle and sheep. And that was owned primarily by um, my husband's cousin. And so, we always watched out for um, uh, the cattle and the sheep. We watched out the window, right? Wanted to make sure everything was okay. Of course, our cousin would come and check on his own animals himself. We didn't know what really to look for. Um, but we still would look out to make sure. And we really started doing that after we had come home one day, and the little lamb was all walking up the way. I was walking down our path, which was about over 200 yards long. And there was this little lamb that was all bloody, right, walking, stumbling. And as we got closer, we saw that the sheep had all been attacked. And they were attacked by brown Labradors. Two brown Labrador dogs had attacked the sheep. And and then a few months went by, maybe even a year, I think, went by, and this happened again, where we came home and the Labradors had attacked, um, and they absolutely had to be put down. The Labradors had to be put down, and why? Because there's the warning, and I mean, all the sheep were gone. So sheep, of course, there were some that had bites taken out of them, right? But when you're doing that in front of other sheep, and they're watching or they're being chased a little bit. Sheep are very weak. They're very, very weak, and you can scare them to death, literally. They get a heart attack very easily. And so when the dogs would come up and attack, it wasn't just the one that they attacked that died. It was also those that had been scared to death. Okay. They just would fall over and have a heart attack and die. And so it was just, and the dogs, once they got the taste of the lamb's blood or the sheep's blood, it ruined them. It ruined them. They were no longer kind, beautiful brown Labrador dogs. They were like possessed, absolutely possessed. And there's nothing you could do to them, nothing you could give them to change them back. They had to be put down. And so even with the one chance, right, they had to be put down. And this is, because here you do all of, farming, sheep is hard work, very hard work. You have to really take care of them. You can't, even the flies will get into the sheep and lay their eggs, and then if you don't treat your sheep and take care of them, they can absolutely be eaten alive by the maggots. So you have to absolutely keep your sheep clean. You have to keep them safe from the dogs. You have to keep them safe from any kind of other hazards, and make sure they have good grass to eat. It's it's a lot. It's in clean water, clean water. It's a lot of work. And then if you have a dog that comes by, even a couple dog, and all of a sudden you have 20 dead sheep or even more, it's just devastating. It's devastating. And, that's why restitution for things like that, you have to pay fourfold back to the farmer, because all the work that goes in to raising these sheep. And this is the thing. You have this kind of crime going on, and these people, they're never satisfied. They're all they can think about is the children and the worst type of crimes. And this needs to be addressed, because there's nothing you can say to them. You have 500,000 children being trafficked. You have whistleblowers being retaliated and killed left and right. You have executions. You wouldn't believe how many executions are in just the mayor. This mayor not too long ago that was voted in wanting to go against the cartel, and he was executed. You have, of course, our son, a whistleblower, that was targeted and his life was taken from him. Off of Fort Bliss, so you have a soldier, so and then you have those that are scared to death, and then you have those that uh, I guess they're like the Walking Dead. They're like the Walking Dead. They go along with it. They're compromised and they go along with it. And so this has to be addressed, because it's so destructive of humanity itself. And so I think what President Trump is doing right now, with going and looking at the visas, going and looking at the naturalizations, that has to be done. It has to be done, because look at what has look at what the crime is, right? And the third world countries that no one is controlling, they're self-centered, whatever, that they just want to steal. They just want to steal no matter what. They don't care, they don't even think it's bad. There's no change in them, no loyalty to the United States of America. There's no loyalty to their own country. And how do I know? Because they come over and they wave the flag of their other country, but they don't want to go back. There's no loyalty to it. Um, and then their mindset is to just extort and ruin America. And there's no concept of capitalism. And we don't, we have corporatism right now because we don't apply capitalism, right? Because people want to extort. So we have enough of our own problems to try to get back to the, hard work, earn your way um, mentality because we, don't have that. But we don't need the third world country people coming in that have no loyalty to the United States, and they really don't. They don't, otherwise things would be better. And I know there's exceptions to the rule. So there's going to be quite a bit of vetting going on with the naturalization um, and no, we're a family of immigrants, so we absolutely understand, um, uh, you know, uh, what, the threat here. We understand the threat, but uh, years ago when my mother became American citizen, she gave up her German citizenship and her loyalty was to the United States of America. And the same thing with my grandfather, the same, my dad was born in the United States. So but we're absolutely all of our family they became Americans. And you see, Richard, he joined the U.S. Army. He didn't join the Irish Army. He joined the U.S. Army, and wanted to give back to the country that embraced him, right? So, and really look at what he gave back. He is an absolute hero for the United States of America, and I would say for the world, because what Richard did in his whistleblowing, and yes, he paid the ultimate price. Yes, they took his life. But what he did, the thread that he pulled, the exposure that he did is absolutely heroic because as El Paso goes, so goes Juarez, right? So goes Texas. As Texas goes, so goes the United States, right? It's very, very important for people to understand that Texas is absolutely huge. And I'm not talking about its huge land, that's huge too, but its economy is huge. And as Texas goes, so goes the United States. And as the United States goes, so goes the world. So, what Richard has done is given us all an opportunity to clean this major crime up that really well, they targeted President Trump, right? That's very clear. And all of our evidence that we have, they were targeting President Trump because he was trying to secure the border. And that would keep them from the children. They want the open border because they want the children. And if that means doing these illegal C sections, if that means exploiting the women, if that means, what Mario Ortiz Zaroldi did was take advantage of these women in a very, very bad way and then bring them back to their captors. And then if they were with baby, what would happen? They would be in a crisis pregnancy. And then, of course, that's where Rosemary Ariano, Caron, Purchase, Rivera, where she would come in. She has so many names, y'all. She has so many names, I can't even tell you. Um, where she would come in, and then it got very diabolical after that. It got very diabolical. She's absolutely diabolical. She's just it's absolutely you can't even speak about it. Okay, you can't even speak what really happens, and I don't think God wants us to. He wants us to prosecute them. He wants us to prosecute them, and stop this terrible crime. That's what he wants us to do, because that's what he tells us to do. And then he says, and then think about what is good, what is true, what is noble, what is praiseworthy, and and holding these very evil people to account, and getting justice for Richard is something very good and praiseworthy. So that's uh, you know, to taint ourselves constantly with their crimes, with their actions, I think can be dangerous too. And that's why we need to quit horsing around and absolutely demand justice here. Absolutely demand justice so we can get peace, so that we can think about all the good things about justice, right? The good things that justice brings, and living in a country that is all about justice. That's what we need to be thinking about. And how many children will be saved from all of this. So, yeah, it's I think what is happening right now, the testing of, or, the vetting of the naturalizations and the visas, it has to be done. And stopping third world countries from coming to our country, it has to be done, because right now we're a mess and we have to clean it up. We don't need anybody else coming in. Um, and being put at risk, for terrible things that are going on right now in our country. So we need to clean this up and get the rule of law again and get justice again, and then really vet people that want to come to our country. So thank you so much for coming on. It's the veil has been ripped down, and we see what's going on. That they always targeted first and foremost, even though they were targeting President Trump. The reason why is they want access to children. They want access to children, and they want to do the worst type of things to them. And then of course we have Connell Witten, that is making deals with the very people that want to do the worst type of things against children. Um, being even leaking to them case information out of the El Paso FBI field office to help to aid and abet them to divert maybe like a raid or whatever. And that is just unconscionable. He needs to be held to even a much higher penalty, um, for his betrayal. Um, Absolutely. So that's been confirmed, and we are really just writing letter after letter after letter. And we had a very happy Thanksgiving, and but there's no time to quit investigating and documenting the crimes and filing the crimes. I think we sent three communications out today alone, that are very huge, very important. So know that this is all coming back now to Richard's unit. All of it is being has, it's just you'll see. It's coming back to his unit now, and what the command covered up, and it's devastating, but it has to be exposed so that we can get justice, so that we can make our military safer. Because with them, with the likes of Sean Bernabe in power, um, and David Stewart, and um, and of course General Taylor Curtis, um, and James, what was the other guy? Eisenhower. With any of these people still in charge of anybody, we're putting our sons and daughters at risk. Absolutely. They cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted. So, thank you so much. And I will be back tomorrow. Thank you for sharing. And please, this is what people don't really comprehend, and that is the power of sharing, the power of people getting information that the media absolutely are shaking in their boot. They don't want to mention Richard Halliday, okay? They don't want to share that. So your sharing is what drives the officials to do the right thing. So thank you for sharing,